Rice spoils Arsenal's party, own goals everywhere, and how about those saves at Wembley? Welcome back to Top Bins Football for another week of review and preview. Hi team, welcome back for another double-header review and preview, looking at all the action from Gameweek 22 and then into Gameweek 23. Again, without Mike, he is on his way back home. He's winging his way. I think he's just got to Australia now. So he's getting ever closer and we can feel his presence nearing New Zealand. So look forward to having him back soon. I think he's got another week or so of holiday. Really looking forward to having him back and having both of us doing a recording for a change. Hasn't quite worked out how we'd hoped while he's been away, but we've still got the content through to you. So without any further ado, let's have a really quick run through of Game Week 22. And look, it was a really interesting game week, and I guess the best place to start is probably Save Fest 2019 at Wembley. Mike was lucky enough to be at this game, and at the time messaged me at an ungodly hour of the morning to say, holy hell, De Gea is making some saves here. And make some saves he did. I mean, look, United have walked out of this 1-0 winners, but you got to feel a little bit for Tottenham and their fans here. De Gea made some wonder saves. He made some incredible saves, and Lloris actually made a lot of saves as well. In fact, the stats that I have say that De Gea made 11 saves and Lloris made 7, which is a phenomenal amount of saves considering these are two top teams. It just shows the nature of the game. But De Gea, look, his saves were so important, and the quality of some of them was just top draw. And he's earned United the win there, and they just look in their first big test under Solskjaer, they looked great. And look, they've got a big game this week at home again. Every game's a big game, but a potential slippery one. They did lose to Brighton at the Amex earlier in the season, sorry. So they'll be looking for a measure of revenge. But back to this week, deserved win, you'd have to say, for United. Deserved the 1-0. Rashford looking great. You got to feel a little bit for Martial. He was the only bright light for United for a long time under Mourinho, and now he just can't get a look in. But look, with the results going like this, why would he? So the other, I guess, the biggest shock of the weekend was West Ham hosting Arsenal, and I know Mike and I both comfortably predicted an Arsenal win in this game, but Declan Rice said no, and this kid, look, he's just having a great season, and he looks every bit a Premier League player. A lot of teams could use a player of his quality, and West Ham will do well to keep him because he's playing very well, and he played very, very well in this game, and look, Arsenal did not. And maybe this honeymoon period under Emery's starting to, I won't say they stink of it, Mike might, but they're starting to show some familiar failings, and I wonder whether or not it was just a good honeymoon period. It'll be really interesting. A lot of interesting stuff in the press about how they're not going to spend any money, how they'll only buy players on loan, chief scouts going, all kinds of stuff's happening there. Look, Arsenal just look like they need a whole revamp of a lot of things, and the manager was just one of them. But not predicted that they would lose 1-0 to West Ham. And great result for West Ham. So look, continuing, the rest of the games to a point were pretty much what we expected. So we're just going to burn through them really quickly here. Liverpool travelled to Brighton, scored to win 1-0. Mo Salah wasn't a clinical Liverpool performance by any stretch of the imagination, but as a Liverpool fan, it's something new, and that is being consistent, being reliable, especially at the back. And a few problems there now, obviously, with Nathaniel Klein loaned out and now Trent Alexander-Arnold injured. It's going to be really interesting to see how Liverpool come through that. Gomez is due back shortly, but yeah, it is going to be a little tight. Fabinho is going to be covering at the back more. Saw a fabulous meme of the 10-year challenge of Virgil van Dijk. If I haven't put it up here, it's on our Facebook page. Really, really good and very true. But look, Liverpool, solid defensively, did enough. Burnley hosted Fulham. And here's some more own goal action for you. So Burnley win this one 2-1. All of the goals scored by Fulham. Two own goals for Fulham, as well as an Andre Schürrle goal. Very disappointing for Fulham. They'll be gutted to have put two through their own net and then one at the other end to lose it 2-1. Fulham, yeah, really need to start looking for some points and to stop conceding. Losing to Burnley like this will be big for them come the end of the season. Speaking of other bottom teams, Cardiff and Huddersfield played out a 0-0 draw, and I guess the most disappointed team will be Cardiff here because they've shown in fits and starts that they can score goals, and they should have scored goals and beaten Huddersfield. So yeah, disappointing performance from them. Crystal Palace hosted Watford, and as per usual, when Crystal Palace are hosting, they lost. Watford win this one 2-1 with another own goal. This time Cathcart scored one and put one through his own net, and that guy cleverly, remember him? He cleverly converted his chance, and Watford take it 2-1. Yeah, that was a poor joke. Leicester hosted Southampton, and look, I predicted this one to be a pretty good game, and I think it was. Leicester not quite where they were. Southampton are really coming back into the league, and they duly won this game 2-1. Ward-Prowse and Shane Long bagging the goals after Ndidi as well, scoring for Leicester. But look, a great result for Southampton, who are starting to make some inroads on the league and starting to look pretty safe. And yeah, really good choice to sack the god-awful Mark Hughes and replace him with someone who's clearly got no idea what he's doing. So yeah, really, really good. Alpine Klopp. Any kind of Klopp's a good Klopp, right? Chelsea then hosted Newcastle, and if anyone thought that Newcastle were going to go to Stamford Bridge and win this game, they were wrong. Chelsea made sure of that pretty quickly. Willian and Pedro both scoring goals, and look, Chelsea, they've flattered to deceive a little bit lately, but a 2-1 win at home, always a good win for them. Newcastle, they'll be pleased to have scored one on the road and maybe wish they'd, a couple of other chances came their way. They could have potentially taken a point out of this game, but I don't think this is one they would have had put in the diary as points. One team may have, and that's Bournemouth, when they travelled to Everton. They might have thought they'd get something out of this game, but they got diddly squat. Everton winning 2-0 and convincingly. Calvert-Lewin and that guy Kurt Zouma, remember him, bagging the goals. And look, Marco Silva's got Everton playing some pretty good football at the moment. The only thing for me is they're a bit up and down. They're a bit yo-yo, which is a bit what Bournemouth are like as well. So, interesting result. I actually predicted Bournemouth to draw this. I think Mike predicted Bournemouth win in this game. So we're both a bit surprised by the result. But look, Goodison Park's a tough place to play. It's the shitty side of Liverpool, and yeah, Bournemouth couldn't handle it. Last game of the week to talk about. Yep, it's the current champions hosting Wolves, and Man City went to Wolves earlier in the season and they were held. And look, I, as a Liverpool fan, was really hoping in the last game of the week that Wolves could pull something off again, maybe even do a Crystal Palace and get a win there. Wasn't to be. City just carried on where they'd left off against Burton and were scoring for fun. Another own goal in this game. This time, Connor Cody, ex-Liverpool player, put one through. Gabriel Jesus, or Jesus, or the Second Coming, or, no, that's Gylfi Sigurdsson, our Lord and Saviour. But anyway, he scored two, which will do him a world of good in terms of confidence. But yeah, look, a comprehensive City win, and not much has changed at the top of the table, really. United not really making a surge because they're not really making any inroads. But the loss for Arsenal is big. The loss for Spurs is big. But in terms of your top two, it remains a 4-point gap. Liverpool still winning at this point. Really hoping that continues. Still don't think they're going to win the league, but I am enjoying this time on top and making City work for it. And I think that's good for the league. So yeah, we will do a little snappy intro and we'll join you for the preview in just a sec. And here we are. Welcome to the preview. So let's have a look at how we went last week. And crap would probably be the easiest way to describe that. Both of us 40%, 4 out of 10. Pretty poor the last couple of weeks, to be honest. And there weren't really the shock results this week. We just picked badly. I don't think there's any excuse for it. I don't know what Mike's going to say to that. But from where I'm sitting, we both just picked poorly. Both got 4. Mike did pick up an exact match, though, which does hurt me because if we look at the overall scores now, Mike's up to 98 to my 104, so that 6 point gap remains the same. But in the exact matches, Mike is just one away from me now. He has 15 to my 16. Starting to feel him come up behind me there, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So I do want to have a good week this week, and Mike sent me his picks, so let's see what game week 23 is going to give us. And we'll start the week with Wolves hosting Leicester. Now, I think this will be an absolute cracker. Wolves in decent form, certainly playing well at home. Leicester, up and down, but a very good side. Mike has picked this one as a 3-1 Wolves win. I actually think that Leicester will do slightly better than that, and I have picked 3-2 to Wolves. And I think it could be 2-2 for a long part of the second half. And I think your boy Doherty will, look far post cross and he'll be backing up and tap her in or something like that, like he's done all season. And 3-2 Wolves win. I'm picking they'll win it late. Bournemouth are hosting West Ham. And West Ham will obviously be buoyant after their home win against Arsenal. Mike thinks so to the point where he thinks that it'll be a 2-2 draw on the south coast, whereas I still think Bournemouth have got enough. They've got a fabulous new right back and striker. But seriously though, I do think Bournemouth at home will be a big ask for West Ham. Mike's picking it 2-2. I'm picking Bournemouth to win this one 2-1. Liverpool host Crystal Palace, and Crystal Palace have been a bogey team for Liverpool, certainly in the 13-14 season, and this year they've certainly preferred to play away from home. That said, they're not going to do jack in Anfield this time because Liverpool are just too good at the moment and Crystal Palace are just too poor. A lot of injury concerns there for Palace as well. Mike's picking this one as a 3-0 win to Liverpool. I'm picking this as a 4-0 win to Liverpool. Both picking heavy defeat for Palace here, and I just can't see any other way about it. United are hosting Brighton, and as I mentioned before, this is a bit of a grudge match earlier in the season. Brighton taking all the points at the Amex. Mike doesn't see it this way. He still sees it close. He sees a 2-1 United win. I actually think United, unfortunately, and I do hate saying this every week, but they are playing much better at the moment. And look, I'm going to pick them to win this one 3-1. While Brighton are pretty tight at the back, I think at Old Trafford, under pressure from a United side that have just thrown the shackles off, I think 3-1 seems like a pretty fair result. Newcastle will host Cardiff in the next game, and I think they'll be buoyed by their 2-1 defeat to Chelsea. Wasn't too bad. Cardiff couldn't put one past Huddersfield, which has obviously got to be a problem. Mike doesn't think they'll put one past Newcastle either. He's picking Newcastle to win this one 1-0. I'm actually picking a 1-1 draw, and that's just more about how Newcastle have been and their luck this season. I see them potentially taking an early lead and then conceding one at the end and only taking a point. But a close game either way. Southampton on the rise, and they'll be hosting Everton, and this will be really interesting. Southampton's certainly playing more like a Southampton side that we'd like to see, and they had played in the previous few years before old Sparky got involved and turned them dirty. Everton play well, but not always that consistent. And Mike thinks that this is going to be an absolute cracker. Mike's picking this as a 3-2 Everton win. And boy, if it is a 3-2 Everton win, it's going to be a heck of a game. I don't see quite as many goals in it. I think the two fairly good defenses. I'm actually picking a 2-1 win for Everton. Both of us picking an Everton win. Watford will host Burnley in the next game, and look, Watford have been back doing what they do, and guys like Decore, Holebas, Pereira. Deeney coming to the fore again now, and they need them, and they could have a really good mid to top mid table finish this season, and deserve it. They've played pretty well. Burnley, on the other hand, have really been up and down. Didn't score last week, even though they've got 2 against their name, and it has been frustrating and hard for them. They've not quite been as robust at the back as we'd like to see. Chocolate Wrist hasn't been that great goal for them. He's had moments, but not quite the commanding presence. Mike's gone ahead and pick Watford to win this one 2-1. I'm actually going to pick Watford to win this one 2-0. I just don't see enough attacking threat from Burnley, but more importantly, the midfield combination for Watford is quite strong, and I just think they're going to bully Burnley out of this match for a 2-0 win. One of the best games, if not the best game of the weekend, is going to be at the Emirates. Arsenal hosting Chelsea. Now, it's always a great game. Chelsea off a decent performance last week, but Arsenal off a 1-0 loss to another local rival in West Ham. And I think they'll be up for this. You'd love to see guys like Aubameyang, Lacazette in top form and really having a crack at Chelsea. Mike thinks there'll be goals in this. He thinks this is going to be a 2-1 Arsenal win. And look, I think, yeah, I could see that. I actually think that's being a little kind to Arsenal. I'm picking a 2-2 draw. I think Chelsea aren't quite the finished product yet under Sarri. But Arsenal certainly not the finished product either, and I think there'll be a few goals and a tidy draw at the end of it, and certainly that'll be interesting for the rivals around them if that is the result. Okay, so last couple of games of the weekend. Huddersfield, poor Huddersfield, they're hosting Man City, and look, I don't think we really need to talk too much about this. Big is the predictions here. Mike is predicting City to come out 5-0 victors. I'm predicting 4-0. It's going to be interesting. Huddersfield obviously parting ways with David Wagner. A mutual parting of the ways. From what I've read, Wagner it was just getting too much for him. He didn't have the fight himself, so I don't think it was. I think for once it was an actual mutual termination. Normally a mutual termination is, hey, we're sacking you, but we're going to tell everyone that we agreed to this. For once I actually think they did. I feel for him. He's going to go down in history at Huddersfield as, you know, taking them to the promised land, and a fabulous job he did getting them up and keeping them up. But with no money and very little going on, it just feels like it was a job too much. And poor guy, he's not there any longer. So that might be good for him this week, because we're both predicting they're going to get an absolute hiding from City. And last game of the weekend, another all-London affair. Fulham hosting Spurs at Craven Cottage. Spurs will be reeling after so many shots and saves last week against United. They'll really want to go and take it out on someone. That said, they're missing Son now at the Asian Games. They're missing Kane for potentially 6 weeks, I've heard now. Those ankles on Kane are just, pretty fragile. I mean, they're not quite chocolate like Joe Hart, but they're, not the strongest in the world. And they're really going to miss him, because they just don't have a backup striker of any kind of level after him. And this is a real conundrum for Spurs, because they play one striker, and Kane is generally pretty fit and is going to play almost every game. And how do you sign a backup striker that's never going to play? It's a tough ask for them. That said, you'd have to hope that they have something in reserve and someone that they can pull up. Maybe they need another youth player like Harry Kane. Mike's picking them to go ahead and go to Fulham and win this one 2-1. I just don't see Fulham scoring against them, even at home, and I'm picking Spurs to win this one 2-0. So if you have a look up, that is our picks for the week. We're really hoping for better than 4. 4 has been sort of that unfortunate number that we've had the last couple of weeks, and it's been pretty awful. I'm really hoping for a couple of exact matches so I can stretch that lead a little bit more. But yeah, we'll see what happens, and we'll see what happens next week. Hopefully, if Mike's back, we'll have him. If not, maybe we'll get him from Australia. But either way, it'd be lovely to have him here in some form. I hope you've enjoyed this week. We've enjoyed bringing it to you as always. If you want to get in touch, keep in with the banter. Facebook.com/ToppinsFantasy. Also check out the Twitter there. Try and get involved with us, get some banter going. We love a bit of meme action. Like I say, that 10-year challenge Van Dijk post, golden. Absolutely love it. Thanks very much for tuning in as always. We'll be back next week with a review and a preview. And enjoy the football. Cheers.